Hey, so I wanted to share what I think are some of the different stages of our narcissistic abuse parts of our life, I guess. So the first stage is denial. We're just engaging with narcissists and believing that they're normal people, believing that they can love you or that they will love you one day or whatever. You're not aware of narcissists. So then the second stage would be that you become aware that you're being abused. Maybe this was after a discard, or maybe it's while you're still with them. And this is when you start doing research and therapy, and you can slip back into denial over and over again. Like, it took me several years of like being in that stage of like going back and forth with like, oh, I think they're abusive, but then the denial just like kicked back in. So then I think the third stage is like really healing, which requires going no contact with all the narcs in your life, because there's probably lots of them. And I have become isolated because I've just ended so many of my relationships. And this phase involved grieving and going through all the pain and doing lots of research and therapy and seeing yourself as a survivor and connecting with other survivors. So I think that's where I'm at right now. I don't know how long this phase lasts for. I mean, obviously all these phases just depend on the person, but I think there's a stage 4. This is what I imagine it to be like. So I imagine that you just move on and you stop researching narcissistic abuse unless you are triggered, for example, at Christmas, or you just have like a random memory, and then maybe you might research stuff to comfort you, like because of being triggered. But for the most part, you just live your life. You don't think about narcissists. You no longer really identify as a survivor, and you're just like a person. You do whatever you want in your life. Like, imagine that you were just dropped on Earth right now. Like, what would you do? And meeting nice people, feeling peace in your life. And if you meet a narc, you just know that their energy is dark and twisted, and you say no thanks and move on. And your life is yours now. You don't need the drama of an narc. There's no desire to engage with them. And for me, the concept of living like this is just new and unknown, because you're letting go of how your life's been this whole time. There is a point where I have to see that there's more to my life than just narcissists. I don't think I came here to just think about narcissists, because Earth is an amazing, beautiful place with art and music and dancing and camping and sports and travel and picnics and bonfires and love and animals and children and many amazing things. And I think I came here for all of that. So once you are no contact, the only enemy, if there's an enemy, is your own inner voice. So when we let the inner voice go, or the inner critic, I mean, that was the last remnant of the narcissistic abuse, really. Like, once you've gotten rid of your physical contact with the narc, now it's like, I forget what that's called. Oh, reenactment. So we reenact the initial trauma with all of these other people we attract, but we also reenact the trauma with our own inner critic. So that's the last kind of thing to drop, I think. It's the last remnant of being abused. So, oh, and then when you move on, you're able to like trust other people and like have relationships and like not be afraid of meeting new narcs, and you just like trust yourself and like trust that life is good, you know, and you're not like living paranoid anymore. So I'm believing that exists because I'm not in that last stage yet. But I think it's good to have like that vision of like, I don't actually want to see myself as a narc abuse survivor forever. Like, yes, I will be one, but like, I want my life to be so much more than that. You know, I almost just like don't want the past to have that much of an impact on my future. Like, yeah, it will always matter, but I guess I want my life to be like full of other things and things that I love and things that make me happy, and not just trying to heal from all the trauma. But I think part of my issue is that I'm like wanting to be there instead of where I am, and that actually slows the healing down. So I have to accept where I am and like what I'm doing right now, which is being triggered by a lot of stuff. Just from internally, I'm not only being triggered externally so much, it's just like arising from within. So yeah, but everything has a phase. Like in nature, if you just think of like winter, spring, summer, fall, it's like I'm in winter and I'm like wanting it to be spring. I want it to be spring. But you actually have to like accept the winter and be in the winter in order for the spring to come. So yeah, I think I just have to trust that the spring will come. I can't like make it come. It's just the healing comes when it comes. So, but we can also resist it. So it may seem silly, but we could be in winter and we're paranoid and in pain and suffering and stuff like that. But we can actually hold on to it because that's what's comforting and familiar. And the idea of like, okay, now it's your life now and you just get to do awesome stuff. We might think like, oh, like, I don't deserve that. Like, or there's someone who likes us and like wants to get to know us, but we're like, oh, I don't, you know, like we're just scared of intimacy and stuff. So we can have resistance kind of on both ends, which like makes the process more challenging. But yeah, because I have that too. I want it so bad, but then I'm scared of like actually doing it. So I guess it's a matter of like trusting life and trusting the process. And then if you're in that stage of like flip-flopping between denial and learning about narcissism, like that is so excruciating. That lasted for over 2 years for me, and like that was horrible. The only way to make that better is to go no contact. Like that was why it was so bad for me. It was because I kept going back and talking to my family and they just kept like making me doubt myself. And I wasn't talking to them about it. I would just go talk to them and be like, I don't think they're narcs. But then I would research it again. I'd be like, yeah, I think they're narcs. And I'd go talk to them and be like, I don't think they're narcs. And it's just like, so, you know, you're doing the best you can and you will get there somehow. And trust yourself. The sooner you can go no contact, really the easier it will be. But I know that is not easy to do. So if it's taking you a long time to do it, that's totally okay as well, because your own psyche it can't do things that it's like not ready for. So if you need to like do more research or whatever, like you just do whatever you feel like doing at this time. And I've also been like kind of mad at myself for being a hermit, because I'm like, oh, I need to like go out there and da da da. But if I'm not like ready, then it's probably not gonna go well. So I guess I'm just saying it's also okay to be a hermit if that's where you're at. And then when you feel like you want to get to know people, then you will go do that. So I guess I'm just saying everything is okay the way it is, where you are. Just know that you're fine and you're not doing anything wrong. And the healing journey is propelled somehow by an internal force. It's not propelled by the mind. So I think it's more about like letting go, because it's really the mind that stalls the healing process. Like even with the flip-flop between denial and knowing about narc abuse, it was like something inside me knew about the narc abuse and it was trying to go forward, and it was my mind with the denial that was like slowing it down, right? So the more that you can try to release the grip of the mind, I think the smoother the process will go. But it might just be painful kind of either way, and that's okay too, because you will get there somehow. And yeah, I believe it's guided by something. You could call it your heart, your soul, the divine God. I think that all of it is like orchestrated and guided somehow, and a big part of it is just like learning to trust that. So I hope this video was helpful, and thanks for watching.